A recent debate from Rap Latte, shouts to Torre and King Green, argues that you cannot dismiss artists like NBA YoungBoy as lowbrow or uncivilized because hip-hop's very foundation is built on being socially unacceptable and or counterculture, if you will, right? So if we accept that hip-hop is inherently anti-establishment, then the moment we start demanding civilized, quote-unquote, behavior from rappers, we are no longer defending the culture. We have become the establishment that we used to rap against. Right. So there's a video here that I'll play from them kind of discussing it with that. They had a guest on. This is all from a guest that they had on the show. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but I'll put it in the comments or something. But it's
the more that we further and further away from the core roots of this genre, which is people that are from Black poverty and at the very least an urban environment, like you are from the streets, then the more we'll go away from the root of the art itself. Y'all don't take the actual root of the art seriously anymore. And the biggest way I can tell is the way y'all be talking about YoungBoy. When y'all was talking about YoungBoy concerts, you saw a man who didn't even dominate the charts, but still had such a huge grasp on the youth, talking about his upbringing, selling out arenas. And y'all try to make it seem lame. Y'all try to make it seem corny. Y'all try to make it seem like it was violent and lowbrow. Lowbrow don't exist in hip hop.
We know hip hop is not lowbrow. We know that. He said there's no lowbrow hip hop. Of course there is lowbrow hip hop, right? Of course there's hip hop that is less complex than the rest.
I said lowbrow doesn't exist in hip hop as in the cultural decency aspect of it. Like, oh, this is like not civilized. This is not that. That doesn't exist in hip hop because innately the art form itself was not deemed like socially acceptable. That was the whole basis of it, is to be counterculture, anti-establishment.
I understand where Tori's coming from, and I also understand where you're coming from. I think you're saying in general, the culture was built on being anti-establishment. So it's anti in general. So you're already looking at what's there and trying to flip the perspective. I would say that's true to hip hop today because the norm isn't cool. That's kind of hip hop always. Xavier So Based literally is anti-establishment because you niggas is all lyrical. I'm going to just say shit and rap over weird ass beats and shit like that. And some, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm going to go because you're the establishment. This is the thing that I want people to understand too, is like Dr. Dre and Jay-Z are the establishment. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but these niggas are the establishment.
It's a lot there. I think this is a good conversation piece. So
great, actually.
If lowbrow can't exist in hip hop by labeling modern street rap like NBA YoungBoy as lame or violent, are older fans protecting the quality of the music or just trying to distance themselves from the uncomfortable reality of Black poverty, quote unquote?
I don't think so. I mean, I think one of the things that you can't discount is that Black, quote unquote, poverty has produced some of the most lyrical, some of the most progressive and still anti-establishment music that we hear today and every day.
Sure.
Like, what do you think Kendrick Lamar is?
Right.
Like, this kid is from Compton by way of Chicago. You know, what do you think Lupe Fiasco is? This is somebody from the south side of Chicago.
Yep.
You know, even when you're going to go back and talk about Common, south side of Chicago, these people are from the dirtiest, like most disenfranchised places in America, but it doesn't give you the cause or excuse to say we're just going to go say, you know, just get money. Now, don't get me wrong. I enjoy a great deal of music that encompasses honestly only those two things and those two things only.
Yep.
You know, but what sometimes we worry about, and I think they worried about it like when my favorite group was Wu-Tang Clan, and when I loved, you know, Snoop and Dre and Tupac when I was in my 20s, is the same element of fear and unfamiliarity that people, you know, of a certain stature or, you know, a certain demographic, if you will, they feel about NBA YoungBoy. You know, when I see that, you know, there were people who just thought that there was nothing more dangerous than, I mean, the label was called Death Row, you know, and so when I see NBA YoungBoy and I see the energy and I don't get it because it's just not my kind of music, then I can be on my hip hop perch and say that's lowbrow. But at the same time, it's anti-establishment is what Death Row was. In its own way, it's anti-establishment the same way that Run DMC and Public Enemy were. It's just like the artistic aesthetic of it is something that I'm not as comfortable with, partially because I'm almost 50. you know, and partially because it's like, I just don't, it's not something that I can get with as far as what I would listen to in my spare time. Now, when I do think of low, you know, just lowbrow hip hop, I mean, it's coming out in the wash now because none of her songs are hitting anymore, because a lot of times that really lowbrow hip hop, like Sexy Red, comes and goes. And once people are over with that gimmick, they're done with it. You know, for things to last, there still has to be a level of artistic expression that people can latch on to long term. You know, so I don't know if that's what NBA YoungBoy is or artists of his ilk, but you know, because I think a lot of what we're worried about are these young people just being exploited for a cash grab. And you know, does anybody actually believe in the artistic validity of their messages, or are they just saying, okay, well, let's get as much money off these young black kids until they burn out, we can get them out of here and find somebody else to exploit?
Jump in, B.
Well, I was gonna go.
Oh, go ahead, Terry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me do what I want to do, man. Okay,
you got it, brother.
I appreciate it.
I got you.
Anyway, then you go to Nah, I feel like, man, some hip hop fans are just too bougie, man. They feel like they're better than everybody else because they listen to a certain form of hip hop, whether that be real wordy, wordsmith ass hip hop. Some people can rap very well, but you ain't talking about shit. But somebody would be like, well, that's real hip hop because you don't get what an NBA YoungBoy is talking about. And I'm not particularly a NBA YoungBoy fan, but he has his avenue. You know what I'm saying? He can do what he wants to do, and it's obviously inspiring somebody, or it's speaking about somebody's upbringing in their life, and they connect with him. So I feel like a lot of this comes from the whole bourgeois aspect of people that grow up in hip hop and feel like they're supposed to be the gatekeeper on what good hip hop is. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like it, just don't rock with it. At the end of the day, there's always been hip hop music that I didn't like, but I didn't make a stink about it or act like I'm better than somebody else because that's not what I'm listening to. Like, I was always somebody that kind of listened to a little bit of everything. So people would point at me and say I was weird for listening to certain types of hip hop, but I mean, it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? I feel like people can listen to and kind of rock with what they want to rock with. It's kind of like that new situation to where the quarter zip sweatshirt is now the new Nike tech suit. And
yes. Who shiesties? They're taking those off and putting on quarter zips.
But see, and that's weird in itself because you're making it seem like somebody's attire makes them who they are. So just because I got on a Paper Dreams outfit, shout out to Maurice Brookins. You know what I'm saying? If I decide to put on a quarter zip tomorrow, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna rock this fit, or I can't rock a Nike tech suit. It doesn't make you by what you're listening to and what you're dressing like. You know what I'm saying? The culture itself should be your definition. It shouldn't be what you define as good just because you bougie now.
Jump in, B.
Shout out to you for shouting out Paper Dreams. All right. So for me, I get dude's point. You know what I mean? As far as they're not being lowbrow. It actually kind of made me change my point of view a little bit on how I felt about YoungBoy or whatever. I don't really enjoy his music. I wouldn't call it lowbrow. I would just say it's not good. And that's just by my standard.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I completely understand why kids gravitate toward it. You know what I mean? Because there was a one point in time where, you know, I thought Boosie wasn't hitting like that. You know what I mean? But people gravitated toward it, and he became who he is. You know what I mean?
Whole legend.
The more I listened to it, the more I started to catch on to it. I just haven't been able to do so with YoungBoy. Yeah. I don't really like. My son is a big Playboy Cardi fan.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get with it, but I understand why he does. You know, I felt that way about Uzi, even though Uzi does have some records that hit for him.
So let me pivot that into the new conversation, another part of this conversation, and then Mike, you can come in if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Go ahead, bro.
So and it goes to exactly what you're saying. So if Dr. Dre and Jay-Z are no longer the counterculture, if you will, right? And are the establishment. Does that mean that true hip hop must sound like quote unquote weird or bad, like Xavier So Based or Playboy Cardi, if you will, just to remain anti-authoritarian or counterculture, if you will?
I say no, just because, again, like Primo Rice, Currency, all of those records, those are quote unquote anti-establishment artists.
Sure.
But that's what I choose to listen to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like you don't have to sound like the extremes to be something. Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
I think y'all pretty much nailed all the talking points as it relates to this. I was the snob. I used to be the snob. So I had to understand that everything just isn't for me. And that's okay. As I get older, there are certain pockets that I'm going to get into that I like. I shouldn't be wasting my time trying to shit on the generation that's underneath me, telling them that they shouldn't do this or they shouldn't. I'm wasting my time. This is their era. They're going to do what they're going to do regardless. So I had to learn that. And I just think the lowbrow comment kind of made me put it into perspective a little bit more after hearing it the way they presented it. Right? It's like, it's okay. Everything is not, and as snobs, the old snobs, we want to try to save hip hop. I stopped doing that a long time ago. I can't save hip hop. I'm not, there's
and
nothing I can do to
who?
say. Exactly.
I say this though, the older you become, the more you'll recognize that shit wasn't good.
True.
You know what I mean? Because like No Limit, there's a lot of them songs that I used to like back in the day. A lot of those records that I go back and listen to.
How did they age?
What the fuck
Exactly.
was I listening to?
Exactly.
I said the same thing about NWA a couple weeks ago.
Exactly.
And I think
The
sometimes
second album.
sometimes what can happen too is those of us that never, let's say, never liked No Limit, such as myself, would be like, "See, I told you so." and what happens is that builds this level of elitism that happens, right? If you lean into it extra heavy. So
you know what? You know what's crazy? It's funny that this is one of the topics that bro put in, but I don't want to pivot too far away, but I think it's in the ballpark because Jet Santiago had a post where he said, "What is more important, the character or the quality as it relates to the art for an artist?" And you see people commenting or whatever, but I posed that both are important. But if you're asking me, I would rather put my hours in and be good at my craft first and then develop my character, because both are important. Like, you have to be entertaining. Nobody wants to have the person that's dope and it's just like, okay, he's just dope and there's nothing else that comes with it. So I look at it from a standpoint is, because you talked about the quality, like it's just not good. To me, I'm like, let's focus on my craft so I can get good, and I'll build my character and whoever I'm going to be in terms of being entertaining and what my stick is or whatever goes with that. I'll do that as I work on my craft.
if you care about your craft.
There you go. If you care, because there are some people it's the flip side. I can be a rapper, entertainer, and influencer, 24, 48 hours, as long as I got a mic and a setup and a camera. And it'll be on. So there's the flip side to it. That's just the generation that we're in. But I answered the question like, I want to get good, and then as I build, I want to work on the total package.
I think it only really matters to, like, the quality of the work only matters to a certain point if you've already bought into the character. You know what I mean? Like, because I say that about, for instance, Busta Rhymes. I went back and listened to a couple of his earlier albums when I was a fan. Busta Rhymes has an elite discography.
Yes.
True.
But when I go back and listen to those records, he was not saying shit.
I can't go that far.
Man.
I can't go that far. I disagree with that.
He was rapping about rapping.
I can't.
There's a lot of folks that rap
bro.
about rapping, though. I mean, he just did it at a very elite level.
But I bought into the character.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
he's animated. The videos are always cold.
I always say I say the same thing about Luda. You know what I mean?
Eminem.
Yeah. Like, it was good quality, but they weren't really talking about shit.
Well, I think
I can't vouch for that for Busta. Maybe I'm a little closer on
Man,
that.
Extinction Level event.
I
He
can't
definitely
vouch
was
for that
rapping
on
about
Busta.
some shit.
The Coming had heat on it.
and the number 2. ELA 2 is still a record.
that was,
You talking about grown Busta?
well, okay, yeah,
You know what I mean?
you're right.
That's true.
No, I'm talking about the Coming.
Yeah.
ELE,
Right.
When Disaster Strikes,
Fire.
and these are all great albums.
Yeah.
Banging beats,
Yeah.
all that. But when you listen to the content, he was not saying shit.
I don't know about that.
Well, I think this is sometimes
Frightening and enlightening at the
Come on,
same time.
don't do that.
No, he
Don't
was
do
just
that.
he was
Don't
putting a
do
lot
that.
of words together.
Don't do
but
that.
he was not saying shit.
I think this is, and this speaks to your point. I think a lot of times when we talk about counterculture, we think that also encompasses you being some sort of intellectual or revolutionary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Counterculture can just be, counterculture is the NWA Strata Compton album. Counterculture
It's Playboy Cardi.
is Playboy Cardi.
Mhm.
Whether or not you feel it is something that is going to, enlighten the minds of the youth, that comes secondary. Sadly, Public Enemy is revolutionary and counterculture.
Mhm.
Dead Prez, if you really dig deep, a lot of things that not Tribe Called Quest,
Native
but
Tongue.
De La Soul was about, they was talking about, not Blown Mind State, but De La Soul's Dead is a heavy record. So when you listen to that record, you're having, there's some things on there that aren't exactly super easy to listen to, not because of the lyrical dexterity, but because of the subject matter.
Mhm.
So I just don't want us to forget that just because they're not talking about things, they might just be talking about, pissing in corners and drinking quarter waters. That is counterculture. It may not be revolutionary. It may not be something that's going to be written down in a book in 200 years, but it's still, even though we talk about Jay-Z being the establishment, when you listen to 444, that's definitely counterculture.
All right, well, let me take it another step.
Okay.
Mhm.
With can hip hop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Truly function as counterculture art form when its biggest icons are sitting in boardrooms with the NFL and huge tech corporations.
Yes, I think so. Because without that counterculture that established them, they're not in those rooms.
Yeah, I think people
Right,
forget
but
too.
that speaks to the past. It doesn't speak to where we
talking
are
about
right
now.
now.
Yeah,
Talking about now.
It speaks about now, but in the same token, this is somebody that came from that culture, that said culture, and actually made it.
But
So you can't disregard where this person made it just because of where they're sitting at now, that they're not in tune or can't be in tune with what's going on outside of that boardroom.
Tapped in.
I think a deeper argument could be made depending on their roots in what we talk about, where they made it to.
I kind of agree with Lone here.
Because
man.
if you make it out of your culture
Mhm.
into this corporate culture, this perceived success, are you still even within the culture that you were birthed from?
Mhm.
Oh, since you've technically been, I see what you mean.
I think
removed
you are.
from- I got you. I got
think you are, man.
Okay.
Because in the same token, okay, you started from the bottom. You literally started from the bottom. This isn't a Drake situation.
you. Mm-hmm.
You started at the bottom, and your professionalism got you to where you're at now. Now you're regarded by everybody. So if I'm able to do that, if I'm able to make it to a certain level in my career, to remain real or connected, I'm supposed to turn down these opportunities.
Nah,
No, that's not it at
I
all.
don't think it's about turning down the opportunities. I think it's about, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but it's about removing yourself from, because everybody wants to level up. That's the
Mhm.
goal, right? But sometimes you can level up within where you come from.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then there's other times where you can level up and totally remove yourself
Yep.
from where you come from. I think that's what you're
That's
talking
exactly
about.
what I'm
Yeah,
talking
you
about. And
become
I think those things are different.
about.
Yeah.
I think those are different too.
Like you get to a certain point where you become the establishment, and you start doing the exact same things that were done to you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's, because Jay-Z is the most clear cut, the example that
Sure.
I think most of us can
Or
see.
Dre.
Or Dre.
Dre's
Yeah,
big
yeah.
enough.
Or
yeah.
Dre. But when you even, with the close ties that, Dr. Dre, honestly, Dr. Dre and Jay-Z had to the NFL through the Super Bowl situation, you know, one of the criticisms of people, why a lot of people within the establishment, you know, don't like Jay-Z or Beyonce is because of the advocacy work that they do. The fact that they, you know, when they get protesters out of jail and they set up scholarships and the things that they actually do.
That's what I was going to lead to. Yeah.
People. Now, mind you, there is part of you that just when you get older and you start having things, it makes you a little bit part of the establishment. I can say this. Look, I'll give you a very transparent moment where I said this out loud and I thought, what has happened to me? Because there was stuff going on at one of my places of business, and I actually said, "Where are the police?"
Yeah,
and I was like, what happened to me?" But you know, when you have a different interest in things, whether it be business, whether it be like it could just be your property.
Yeah,
you know, you have a different kind of, you know, you might have been the police when you were 19 and 20 because of some things that happened to you, but you also didn't have anything. So now, when you know somebody might be breaking into your house or loitering in front of your business, you're like, where are the police? You know, and so like, it's complicated. I'm not going to say that, you know, that Jay-Z, because Jay-Z's done a lot of stuff wrong. A lot of things that I can criticize him for.
True.
You know, and a lot of things we've brought up on this show. So, you know, just do your Googles, check out our back catalog. You'll enjoy it. But I don't think it completely takes away the counterculture spirit that you have just because you have reached a certain level of success.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it depends on where it's derived from, and I think it depends on where it lives. You know, capitalism is a word that we say very often on this show,
all the time,
and it's
for a good reason.
Yeah, and you know, I think a lot of times it's very easy for us to, as we become older, to seek out more comfortable things within the society that we are a part of.
Agreed.
Which is the capitalist society that we're a part of. So we are living more comfortably as we get older in a society that we may not necessarily advocate for. I think we can be guilty of the thing simply by association because we have to exist in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, it's easier for us to be like, well, you know, Jay-Z's not so bad. He's just us on an extreme level.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that there is a certain level of responsibility that comes with power on multiple levels as well. And that is the argument that I believe could potentially be made. I can hear you whispering.
I'm trying to instruct Michael not to slam the cup on the table, but go ahead.
Yeah.
He wasn't picking it up.
But I think, but I guess what I'm saying is I believe that there's a certain level of responsibility that could be had, that could be the criticism. I can see why criticism could be, I can understand the criticism, I guess is what I'm saying from this perspective. I don't know if I necessarily have any here or there, but you know, there's the conversation about, can you really change things for the better while you are one of the people at the table with the people that are a part of the problem just because you're there? Or is the only way to essentially burn that whole system down? Because regardless, billionaires are billionaires.
In a perfect world, man.
Billionaires are billionaires.
Yeah.
You know,
it gives you a unique position. Should you choose to, you know, kind of, I guess, fight the power, if you will, but with that, can you really be counterculture as a Jay-Z or a Dr. Dre? I don't think you can. I think you can kind of play in the realm of revolutionary a little bit, but I don't think you can be revolutionary either if you're sitting at the table with the billionaires. No, I don't think it's possible.
So is it because of the associations that come from your billionaire connections, or just because, hey, if you've gotten as far as a billionaire, there's some things you probably have done that are a good point. They couldn't align with counterculture in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, because there's no such thing as an ethical billionaire. You're not going to convince me of that. And so certain things have to happen before you reach the particular type of status. Mm-hmm. People have to be stepped on in some type of way, no matter how, you know, and there are billionaires out there that I don't hate, you know, like in that particular type of way. But yeah, I think both are true.
Okay.
To your point.
No,
I would argue that.
No. And I just think, you know, because what if we look up in 20 years and NBA YoungBoy has found a way to be where Jay-Z is now.
Sure.
And like the thing is, we could say, oh, that could never happen. But
I ain't gonna say that.
But you know, if you see where Jay-Z came from, first album barely went gold, you know, and you know, and now he's literally in places I will never visit that are just, you know, they're just places he can go that even if I want to go there on vacation, I can't because there is a barrier to it, and the barrier is called money.
Yeah. I just think that I think in general, it's very easy for us who aren't millionaires to aspire to have as much money as we can. I don't think that is an appropriate way to go through life. Like, I don't think we need a bazillion amounts of money. I think at some point it becomes super unethical to everybody that's around us, depending on how. And I also do not believe in trickle down. So
it's never worked. So I don't know why we think it'll work.
Yeah,
now.
and so I feel like we're conditioned into just believing that, or just looking at somebody who is super successful and be like, yeah, they're still a part of us. There's still those things, and I just don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, I understand. I get what you're saying, but in the same token, it kind of goes to the same bougie aspect of it. So like if I make it to a certain level,
sure,
then I'm not regarded as real anymore because of the people that I'm surrounded around. I can't really G for that because, like you said, he's still out here doing things for the community, philanthropy and the prison reform and paying people's taxes and donating this, that, doing stuff quietly that we don't know about. So sure. I feel like, although this is counterculture and you're at a different level to where you're not as involved in counterculture, you're doing what you're supposed to do from your position. I don't think that you have to be, because, I mean, you get deemed as not real when you don't come back to the hood.
True. Sure.
And then when you do come back to the hood,
it's problems.
It's problem.
Yeah.
So like somebody that's in that position, that's using the position that he was granted and he worked for, regardless of how he got there. I mean, like you said, I don't feel like any billionaire is 100% solid as far as, you know what I'm saying, their merit or whatnot. But in the same token, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing with the position that he's given. Now, if we talk about, well, we don't like the NFL and I don't like these companies that he's working with, if you were in that position, would you not work with these people to be looked at as still part of the counterculture?
Sure.
I think,
I get it. Yeah.
Terry, I think to your point, I think what you're saying is factual because, you know, there's always going to be something, is what my daddy used to say. Somebody going to always have something to say about whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And
yeah, people that read.
Yeah, for sure. But what I'm saying is, I think that there are people that will break down what you say and say, well, yeah, but where's the sincerity? Is this something that's a tax write-off, or is this something that's really about the culture? And then you can go down that rabbit hole when people get that high. I don't know if it's ever a thing that will someone of that stature will truly be able to satisfy, you know, X amount of people. But I think what Terry said is right from a standpoint of, I'm gonna look at your actions and see what you do.
Sure, and
I can respect that.
I understand where Terry's coming from, and I generally agree.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit more extreme on the end of where, to me, the ethical billionaire thing isn't about personal morals. It's that you can't be a billionaire and be ethical.
I see where you're going.
Because it's about hoarding money, and in a place where, you know, and it shouldn't fall down to the individual in my perspective, but I think it's I just think it's a lot deeper than that. You know, we don't have to go much deeper.
Yeah,
you know,
good conversation.
You can be part of the establishment and still be part of the counterculture, in my personal opinion. I don't think you have to be one or the other, especially coming from that counterculture. It's different if somebody came into the counterculture that has no idea what it is, and you're only in it because this looks like an avenue where I can make money. You have no idea. That's the only reason that you rock with it, is because you've seen it as a career. Somebody that went through school, never really knew people that was part of the culture. But I know some things that's beneficial financially, so I'm going to become part of the culture for that very reason. That's different versus somebody that is part of the counterculture and has advanced their life to a situation to where now you're considered establishment, but that doesn't erase your membership to being part of the counterculture.
I think you just described like inheritance. I just came into a whole bunch of bread. I didn't get
it's
it
called
out
nepotism, Mike.
Or where we talk about Bronny.
Yeah, but what you're describing is nepotism.
Yeah, nepotism.
And we all know that nepotism has negative draws, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Most of us want to build up wealth for our family.
Facts.
Right. But how many of us really look at the negative implications of sharing wealth within family?
With that? Yeah.
Because we want to create that generational wealth because don't come from that.
Mm-hmm.
There's different thought patterns around this, and I can go deeper. I'm not going to right now.
That's a good point, though.
But, you know, I do feel an interesting way about that as well. You know, like, you know, that's how wealth is passed down historically. When we look at billionaires passing wealth to other billionaires that are propping up more billionaires,
yeah,
to people that have no merit of anything that happens at all. And we're all chasing that. And so I understand why we chase it, right? Because we want to somehow compete with it. But when we look at the system as a whole, we're just playing deeper into the part of it. But anyway, whatever.
Shout out to Jerry Jones and them. Here's a setup, boy. They about to be straight.
And y'all can tell me I'm an idiot. That's fine.
No, that's fine.
But, you know,
a lot of time, just real quick, because when we talk about the NFL, a lot of that whole NFL talk is because there are no black owners.
No,
so
black
a lot of
majority owners.
Exactly.
Majority
so
owners.
I think that's a lot of part of the reason with the whole Jay-Z situation, and then the kneeling and him saying we're past the kneeling.
That's one of the mistakes I've talked about.
Yeah, that's where the whole stigma of Jay-Z being the establishment, or I mean, he is part of the establishment, but in the same token, he can still be part of the subculture or counterculture as well.
It's funny you use that word.
Which word, sir?
Token.
Oh,
in the same token.
I see what you. Yeah.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.